Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so privileged to be here and happy. You wouldn't believe it. I finished the workshop. This is actually part 2 now. I finished the webinar today. I checked Zoom and the beginning of the webinar is missing. So this is re-recording, but the good news is that it will be shorter. And it's also an example of what we teach. We are a culture of progress, not perfection. So this wasn't perfect, but it will do. Let's start this workshop, this webinar today with a few questions. I'd love to ask you a few questions, 5 simple questions, and you will answer true or false. Since this is re-recorded, you don't have to put it in the chat, but please contemplate. True or false? Question number 1. To get rid of pain, I must fix the structural problems. For example, torn meniscus, softening the cartilage under the kneecap, which is called chondromalacia, or knee arthritis. What do you think? What's your point of view? To get rid of pain, do you need to fix structural problems? My take at it, it's false, because very frequently structural problems cannot even be fixed and people get better. Even sometimes surgery cannot fix structural problems. For example, my menisci are gone. They are torn. They've been torn so many times over the years. And there is no repair for a person my age. There is no sudden fixing of it, but I still can be pain-free. What I would suggest in this webinar and in studying together, a certain paradigm shift from focusing on structural improvements to the restoration of metabolic homeostasis. Because your knee is a trillion of cells working day and night, constantly remodeling itself, nourishing itself, bringing more nutrients, more oxygenation, more stuff in, and then removing toxic elements, things that are worn. So your knee is constantly remodeling itself. And it's not about achieving perfect structure, but bringing your system into the state of homeostasis. This is my goal when I work with patients and clients, and that will be the goal of teaching you, parting on you how to achieve this homeostatic state. Also, there is interesting study, and it's a very solid systematic review with 931 cases where they see that there is plenty of evidence of athletes who don't have any pains or symptoms to actually have full thickness chondral defects, which meaning cartilage is injured. And so pain is not necessarily linked to structure. It may be, but it is not an equation that you have imperfection of structure and therefore you are in pain, and reverse, to get rid of pain, you have to get rid of the structural trouble. So that's our paradigm shift. Number 2, getting rid of knee pain is a complicated process. What do you think? What's your gut feeling? True or false? My take on it is yes, it's true. The knee is most frequently injured articulation of the body. It's a vulnerable place of our whole kinetic chain. The alignment of your upper body, spine, pelvis, the position of your foot, movements, dynamics of your foot, hip, spine, all impact your knee. And in some way, the knee, since it's a hinge that mainly moves forward and back, mainly moves. There is a small amount of rotation when the knee is bent. But other than that, the knee is moving forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. And Right above it is a joint that can move in all directions, out to the sides, rotating, bringing it forward and back your leg. So therefore, you have one joint, highly mobile, and joint below is just a hinge. Even if you look at the ankle, again, more mobility, sideways, supination, pronation, collapsing in, rolling out. So in some way, the knee joint is trapped in between two very mobile joints. So yes, it's a complicated process, but there are certain things you can do and some things you can avoid that will maximize your healing and recovery, that will move the needle. And that's what I will share with you today. Question number 3. When my knee hurts, I should rest. What do you think? False. Mainly false. False as a generalization. There are moments where you do need to rest. When your synovium, your joint itself, the bag, is all inflamed, you might need a day of rest or some period, short period of rest, but only as a temporary measure, as a way of just nudging that beginning of homeostasis. Prolonged resting does not promote healing. Instead, it allows structures that support your knee to get weaker. So as a generalization, it's a false statement. Number 4, to be successful, I must focus on the strength and flexibility of my knee. What do you think about that? Strength and flexibility of your knee, meaning your quadriceps and hamstrings, the local structures, muscles around the knee. And here again, mostly false, although it's super important. Your quadricep, hamstring muscles, structures around the knee do need to get stronger because they do support it. But there is plenty of evidence in modern research that shows that muscles of the trunk, your core, abdomen, your gluteal muscles, gluteus maximus, gluteus medius, the hip abductors, those structures are equally important. And when they compare in the studies, rehabilitation that focus only on quadricep, hamstring, and local tissues, comparing to taking care of those local tissues, but also strengthening your hips, strengthening your abdomen, those group that included core strengthening did better in terms of results. Another important factor is that by restoring strength and flexibility, it's not enough to change movement patterns. Often, you can strengthen your muscles all you want, and the patterns of movements, patterns that got ingrained in your nervous system, especially those central pattern generators, which are below your thinking brain, below your cortex, those are involved in automatic movements. When you just walk and you don't think how you're walking, when you just get up. So we need to expand our thinking that it's not only about strength and flexibility, but also those crucial movement patterns. Finally, final question. I can change even if I procrastinate before or try various approaches without success. What do you think? What's your belief? Can you change? Or do you carry, quote unquote, you can teach old dog new tricks? What's your belief? And of course, it's 100% true. And that's what's today's webinar about. So here are the challenges that you face that prevent you from enjoying active, pain-free life. And of course, these are not only limited to these points. There are external, there are internal factors that may prevent you from achieving what you want. External, of course, our life is much more complicated. Is it me only, or do you feel that way, that the demands of life now are much higher than even 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Wouldn't you agree? Is it only me, or can you agree with me that the demands, the commitments that we have to make, how bombarded we are with information, with deadlines, pressures are ever increasing. So no time is a constraint. I have no time to address my knee. I have no time to do exercises to restore my homeostasis. Money is the big factor why you may be held back, because it's very costly. The cost of visit to a doctor in New York can run you $700 more. Injections, from even simple steroid injections, it's in hundreds of dollars. PRP injections, $1,500 per injection. The washing the joint, the arthritic joint with hyaluronic acid, the same thing. It may cost you in hundreds and hundreds of dollars, if not up to 1,500, and you need several of those injections. And of course, the surgery, depending on what state, if you're in New York or anywhere else, it may run from like total knee replacement from $15,000 to $75,000. So money can be another thing that prevents us from moving forward, from improving. Not knowing what to do, uncertainty, being lost. I'm not sure. Previous failures, that's big. If you try something and you failed, if you tried again, somebody told you, oh, this is a great exercise, you tried, didn't do, or actually maybe even you felt worse. So that kind of experiences can hold us back, can make us be very skeptical about another approach. Limiting beliefs, that's a big part. If your belief is that movement is bad for you, that you shouldn't be moving, then you might be more on underusing your structures, and therefore those structures getting weaker and atrophy. Big factor is accountability. Yeah, procrastination, all these New Year resolution. We are so ambitious. We are going to do it. We're going to lose weight. We are going to get fit. We are going to exercise. And then by February 15, by March, it's already the memory only. So accountability, procrastination, excuses. What are yours? Can you think of others? Now, the big question is, what will it cost if nothing changes? If in 6 months, this will be end of the year, in 6 months, nothing changed. You didn't have time, you didn't have attention, you couldn't put efforts. What will happen? What do you think it will cost you? Plenty of, and the factor is actually that if nothing changes, we actually get worse. If we don't improve, if we don't start to invest our efforts, our time into improvement, the likelihood of us deteriorating a little bit, acquiring patterns of limping, patterns of compensation, developing further weakness around your whole moving system. So these are big things to consider. On this webinar today, you will discover the 3 pillars for progress. You will discover the Pareto's law, 80-20% law, which says that 20% of actions influence 80% of success. And this law is practically applicable in everything. In your knee health, in your professional world, in your wanting to improve in your dance, in your sports, if you're playing music, there is 20% of actions that will move the needle. The 80% of improvement will depend on those 20% of actions. So on this webinar today, we're going to tackle what are the 20% of movements that could move the needle, could make a difference. The opposite is also true. The 80% of our suffering is caused by 20% of activities or inactivities of some kind of doing or not doing. So I'll try to highlight for you what are the 20% of actions that you could do or avoid to do that will bring healing, bring metabolic homeostasis. Today, I'll share with you the starter exercise program for mobility, for strength and flexibility. And then I'll show the plan for lasting relief. But before I start, I want you to contemplate why, the big why. Why are you here? Yeah, of course, your knee hurts, but why? Why? Because the reason why that's important is that the powerful why combined with the best what and how can create miracles. You can have the best what and how, but if you're not clear why you're doing something, why do you want to get better at knee, at music, at professional career, at relationship, whatever you want to improve, get in touch with that powerful why. And that's powerful why could be like, I want to do what I love to do. For me, fencing. I want to improve my knees so I can keep on fencing while I'm 60 years old, in a few years, when I'm 70 years old, when I'm 80 years old. I want to keep fencing. I love it. And this is a big part of who I am. It's big social environment for me, fulfillment of feeling that I'm improving, getting better. Big thing. For somebody, it could be, I would love to play with my grandchildren, to be able to sit with them on the floor and be part of, not be bothered by knee or grandma cannot get on the floor, cannot pick you up because I'm having knee pain, right? So what's your why? What's like, get into that feeling. Try to actually use sensory input, meaning sensations, like what's that why? What does it do in my senses, that fencing thing, that thrill of being able to have a good training session or win a competition if you're competitive. Why are you here? And here's why I am here. So, little bragging time. Why I feel like I'm qualified to help you with pain, with mobility, with flexibility, with strength, with resilience, restoring resilience, and also replacing the old patterns of ineffective movement and posture with new and better ones. So these are my career highlights. For 34 years, I've been practicing in physical therapy full-time, seeing patients every day, seeing 5, 6, 7 patients a day. And most of it is in orthopedic. I have 25 years of Feldenkrais practice. I was a supervisor at the New York Pain Treatment Program at Lenox Hill Hospital. That's where I learned about pain, and really serious pain, chronic pain that was devastating for people's lives, who destroyed people's relationships, marriages, destroyed professional lives. People lost their job because of the chronic pain. They were dependent on opioids, really living in the middle of the nightmare. So we work with these cases. I've learned a lot about how to handle serious pain. Another why is that our clinic, our center, is a participating member of the Hospital for Special Surgery Rehabilitation Network, and HSS is a #1 hospital in the United States for 15 years in a row. So we are quite proud to be part of the Hospital for Special Surgery Rehabilitation Network. And I believe we offer a niche, the Feldenkrais niche, that is quite unique. I'm also an advanced orthopedic triage clinician, certified by Hospital for Special Surgery, and a certified advanced hip clinician. But even more important than all these resume stuff, I'm not only a clinician, but I know pain and I know knee struggle in and out. 30 years ago, I injured my knee, and I do have an experience what it means to be a patient. I totally understand what it means to be crippled, to not be able to even walk from one room to another room, to have a swollen knee, to have clicking, popping, to feel like the knee is sliding from underneath you and doesn't feel stable, and when it feels weak. And I even have an experience what it means to undergo surgery and all the privilege of the recovery, and sometimes the awful recoveries when things are not going as well as you were hoping for. So this is, I can really relate to it. I can relate what it means to struggle with knee pain. And why this program? Why this is an opportunity better than I believe others? Well, this is part 2 of the outstanding knee course that I taught a few years ago. And after that, this was our best-selling course. And we had so many positive feedback, so many wonderful testimonials here. I just feel so grateful to help people through the program, through the first version. And I can tell you that if I could, when I had injury, when I tore my ACL 30 years ago, and when I was trying to rehabilitate myself, if I could consult with my 30-year-older, wiser self, I'm telling you, I would do anything to get that advice, to get that guidance, to get that kind of tools, the map, the plan for action. And my goal for all of you here is to move you from where you are right now to being happy and pain-free client. I do understand through reality checks of working with pain, chronic pain, sometimes pain doesn't go away completely. Sometimes there are conditions where people do live with pain. My goal is to stop suffering. You can have pain, but you don't have to suffer. And if you cannot be pain-free and happy, I want you to be happy and be able to manage your pain well and function on the high level. So if I can do anything to bridge that gap, for me, this was good 2 decades of work. And it's never finished. It's never finished. I keep working on myself. I keep working on my knee, on my whole muscular system, on my belief system, on everything. So, but if I could close that bridge for you, so instead you having 20 years to improve through many ups and downs, many roller coaster of, I think I'm improving, boom, I have a flare up, I'm worse than ever. If I could shorten the gap even a little bit, I will feel helpful and really realize this will make me so happy. So my first step on the journey was to design a quiz, the assessment, the knee assessment quiz. Many of you have taken it already. If you haven't, please start with that. We will send you a link. It's actually in the community. You can access that link. It's through the previous emails that we sent. You can have the assessment. And if for some reason you still cannot find it, shoot an email to our office and we will send you the link. So the first was assessment to help you develop knowledge and deeper understanding of your knee. So this is only like 5-10 minute quiz. It has several questions, but through which you're asked questions to contemplate about severity of pain, the location of the pain, whether swelling occurs, and did it occur right after injury or delayed swelling, because all of these things leave clues, and there are clues to success. So do get that assessment. This was my first step. The next step is teaching 3 pillars of progress, which are mindset, knowledge, and practice. Mindset, knowledge, and practice. When we talk about mind, this is a quote that is attributed to Albert Einstein. The mind that created the problem cannot solve it. He actually said it slightly differently. This is his original statement. Problems cannot be solved at the same level of awareness that created them. So in order to tackle problems, what he suggested is bring our level of awareness, improve our mind, improve our mindset. And how do we do that? How can we make it very concrete? We make it concrete through awareness. Awareness of what? Awareness of sensation, feeling, thinking, and movement. So, because brain and the nervous system, you know what the three reasons for the brain, three main functions of the brain and the nervous systems are? Number one, sensory. Your ability to sense, smell, hear, see, touch, temperature, internal sensation, proprioception, kinesthetic sense of movement. So sensation, sensory is number one reason why we have brain. Number two is interpretation of that sensation. So you can have a sensation, but still not being able to interpret it. For example, if I switch to Polish and I say to you, chrząszcz brzmi w trzcinie, w Szebrzeszynie. Czy zrozumiałeś, co powiedziałem? You see, you've heard it. You sensed it. Your auditory sensation registered what I said. But for most of you who don't speak Polish, was like, what? Because the interpretive function is not developed yet. So for me, I've probably told you, like when I first came to United States, I could not hear a difference between her and hair. To me, it were exactly the same two sounds. I thought people were just pulling my leg when they were saying like, what? You don't hear the difference? Hair, her, and to me was exactly the same thing. Sensation was there, interpretation wasn't. It had to develop. And the third function of the brain, third reason why we have the nervous system and the brain is executive, to do something, to have that sensation, to interpret, and with that knowledge, with that information, to do something. And in most cases, it's motor, it's movement. You do something through movement. Even speech is a movement. Breathing is the movement. Even thinking is linked to movement, like thinking, counting numbers. It's through lighting the same circuitry that vocalizes, that uses movement of your breath, your tongue, your lips, etc. So awareness of sensation, of your feelings, of your thinking patterns, and of your movement. That's what we can help with. And let's practice a little bit, because this is one thing that if you do, it will change your life. If you can learn to spend most of your time with your joints, with your articulation, your joints, in our particular interest, your knee joint, but not only, your knee joint, in a parallel alignment, you will get unbelievable rewards. If you learn how to avoid gapping, which is when, just as on the picture here, where you see the leg, the lower leg is shifted to the left, while the thigh is actually shifted in the opposite direction, and that knee has the gapping. It's compressed on the outside and it's stretched over, elongated on the inside. And the gapping can be side to side, like on the picture, but the gapping can be also from hyperextension. If you're standing on the locked knees, there is a gapping, more in front is compressed and in the back is more overstretched, elongated. If you walk around with knees always bent, it's the reversal. It's the back of the knee joint that is compressed and the front that is expanded, that requires ongoing muscular tensions to hold. And the second part is the twist, which is also when the joints are misaligned. So let's train now. Let's take a moment to get up and do a little bit of training. Stand up, please. And we'll start with the twists. You probably have heard the expression of people, or maybe you use that expression like, oh, I twisted my knee. It was, oh, that caused pain. The athlete changing suddenly direction, a twist causing the injury. So can we learn to change directions, to twist without ripping anything, without tearing anything? So here's what you can do. Stand in front of the wall, please. Come to the wall, closer to the wall. And for now, don't touch the wall. Maybe be 2 or 3 feet away from the wall. And first, make a twisting movement of turning movement of your body as if somebody called you, or as if you were crossing the street and you wanted to look left and right, or if something interesting happened to the right or to the left and you wanted to turn to access it. Obviously, you are twisting, right? Your body, your head, your eyes, the reason why we twist is to move our telereceptors toward the source of information. You look to the right, you look to the left, you want to hear the conversation. Who's talking to you? You want to check that. What's that beautiful smell in the kitchen? You turn your head there. So we turn. Now pay attention. As you're turning, what's happening in your knees? What's happening in your knees? Some of you may experience unpleasant twist in the knee joint. Because actually, and throughout the day to day, don't do anything that causes pain. Neglect all the movements that I'm teaching. If you feel strain, if you feel pain, just listen to them, but don't do them if you're experiencing pain. But feel, many of us, when we turn, the pelvis, your hips are turning while the foot is stuck on the floor. That that pushes your knee to start to twist. And knee that is straight actually is not equipped for twisting. The knee that has some bending can adapt and do a little bit of bending, twisting, but the knee that is straight actually shouldn't be twisting. So feel, what do? You turn right, you turn left. Now come closer to the wall and place hands on the wall. Let's see if we can learn to have our feet swifter, easier, without getting stuck, being able to change direction like good dancers that can change direction, that can pivot, and they are not yanking their knees. They're not overstretching, over twisting their knees. So your hands are on the wall and begin to turn your right heel a little bit outward and a little bit inward. Small movement. A little heel turn out, little heel turn in. And pay attention that your knee follows, your kneecap follows the direction of your toes. In other words, you're not twisting the knee. You're moving the heel out and then move your heel in and move it out and move it in. And your knee is pointing where your toes, where the front of your foot is pointing. As your heel turns out, the toes start to turn in. So the kneecap, so the alignment of the knee. Back and forth a few times. Make it light. For now, most of the weight is probably on your left leg. So you're allowing that right leg to twist, to turn. Your foot is not stuck. Good. Now, a few times do it with the front of the foot. Turn the foot out and in. Some of us do out toeing. Some of us do the pigeon toeing, the in toeing. Feel you're turning over your heel, your toes inward, toes outward, toes inward, toes outward. And pay attention that again, your knee follows your shin, follows your foot. It's not twisting. Go back to your heel, out, in, out, in, out, in, and make it light, simple. Heel going out, heel going in, heel going out, heel going in. Now begin to put a little bit more weight on the twisting leg, twisting foot, but see if you could still continue that congruency of your knee and foot, that even though you're bearing more weight, your foot is not getting stuck. That requires ability for your center of mass to actually keep it high. Like great athletes, if you see fantastic dancers, athletes, you see their center of mass is tall. They're not collapsing in. They're not stuck. So you're putting weight on the right foot, you're turning the heel out and in, but even though there is a little bit more weight on the foot, you can pivot and your knee is not exposed to excessive twist. Eventually, you can have your whole weight on the leg. And just like a dancer who can pirouette, a skater that can pirouette, spin over the foot with knee remaining still congruent. For some of you, this is a too tall order. We need a little bit more time together to improve that. So unload the leg. Go only as far as you can do where you feel my knee is not getting twisted. I'm twisting over the ball of my foot. Good. Walk around. Limber up, walk around the room. And as you're walking around your room, notice how you're turning, how you change direction, because this is the key moment. This is the 20%, that Pareto's law. For many of you, this is the 20% that makes a difference how your knee will feel 20 minutes from now, 5 minutes from now, 3 seconds from now, or maybe tomorrow. So often the trigger happens before and we don't really know. We say, I don't know, I didn't do anything, it just hurts. But this is one of the key elements of pivoting. How do you change direction? How do you turn? Do you twist? Does your foot get stuck and you're starting to pivot, torquing your knee? Or can you either make series of small steps? That's one approach. And the second approach, pivoting over the foot like a dancer. And as you pivot, can you feel getting taller? That as you change direction, you can get taller. Now, good training is to do it with sacks on the wood floor, because if you, for example, on the yoga mat that has a lot of traction, or if you have a rubber soles or those sacks with those rubber threads underneath, they're designed for you not to slip. So therefore, they will glue you to the floor. And then turning like this, no ballroom dancer will dare to dance with things like this that cause so much friction. So a good tool, a good pro tip would be to, if you're struggling with this, do it with foot on the floor, on the wood floor, something that allows you to swing. Now come to the wall and let's do the left foot. Start with the left heel, a little bit out and in. Start with majority of weight on the right leg. So the left foot, so you can feel that, aha, I can move my leg and it doesn't twist my knee. The force it get just transmitted from the foot through the shin, through the knee to your hip joint. And hip joint is mobile. And not only the hip joint is mobile, but your pelvis turns. And not only your pelvis turns, but your spine can turn, your rib cage can turn. And hence improving your whole movement mechanism, not just your knee. So you're standing and you're moving the left heel out and in, paying attention that the kneecap and toes remain directed toward the same, pointing the same direction. When it's in, when it's out, as they traveling together. No torquing in the knee. Does it make sense? Can you feel it? Can you learn it? For some of you, it will mean improving mobility of your spine, ability to twist the spine, thoracic spine, rib cage, getting rid of stiffness in the rib cage, in the shoulders, in the neck. For many, it will mean improving hip range of motion, mobility, freedom of mobility in the hip. Because just like I said before, hip is a ball and socket, should be highly mobile. If hip gets stuck and you cannot turn, you're turning in, turning out, or you're playing golf and you don't have enough hip rotation, your knee will be punished because then the knee, the movement shifts to the knee where it shouldn't be. Good. Now, for those of you who can do it pain-free and easily, start to load the left leg as you're turning your heel out and in, as you pirouetting, beginning to pirouette on the ball of the foot. When you start to feel, oh, I'm getting stuck and my knee is torquing, back off, remove some of that weight. You need to learn until you can do it with full weight of the body on your leg. This is the 20% of many of meniscal tears, ligamentous tears. If we could nail it, if we could practice, if we could make a change, it's an enormous value. Good. Now, walk again and watch how you're turning around. Maybe over your left foot. Do you make a series of small steps that will still get you that congruency of the knee? Or can you pivot on the ball of your foot? Lightly, swiftly, without getting stuck. Can you feel it? Can you feel the path? Can you feel what you need to gain, what you need to learn in order to reduce the strain? Good. Now, come to sitting, please. Sitting. And sit on the front edge of the seat. We'll do the second part. Of the practice. Befriending gravity. Gravity is a wonderful force. Don't fight it. Befriend it. So sit on the front edge of the seat. And we were talking a moment ago about gapping. Watch as you sitting, watch where your foot, heel, ankle, foot is in relation to the knee from the bird's eye view. Where is your foot in relation to the knee? Some of you will find that the foot is out to the side. The knee doesn't have the foot underneath it, but the foot is a little bit out to the side. Others may feel the foot is curled under the chair or straight in front of you. Feel, where is this ideal place for the leg? To discover it, let's consult with gravity. Put both of your hands underneath your thigh. Both hands underneath your thigh. Underneath knee, underneath the thigh. Lift your leg and feel as you're lifting the leg will dangle. Lift it with your hands and feel most likely your leg will be like hanging like pendulum down. And then slowly place the leg down on the floor. This is close to ideal. This is close to where gravity will put your leg under your knee. Your knee will be fully supported by your heel, by your ankle. Go again, lift the foot and reposition it. And feel, for some of you, it will be, oh, that's how I sit all the time. Spot on. For others, it will be, I'm not comfortable here. This is not familiar. I usually sit with my foot out to the side. And actually, this is how I ruined my knee. It was a basketball game. I could put excuses on the basketball. I came with a rebound. Somebody pushed me, leaned into me, my knee popped. But after years of learning, I've learned that there were predisposing factors. It wouldn't have happened on the opposite knee because my foot was migrating. I would make jump shot with the foot not underneath me, but a little bit out to the side. I would get up from a chair with that little imperfection. It was so small that I didn't know. It was, again, sensory and interpretive, right? My interpretation was, what do you mean? It's normal. It's normal. It's underneath me. So lift and lower and start to discover where is that place. Now do the same thing on the left side. Put your left foot, hands underneath the left thigh, and a few times lift. Let the leg hang for a moment and then reposition. Let it kind of fall. If it's comfortable for you to drop it from 1 inch, maybe even drop it. If it's not, if your knee is vulnerable, don't. Just reposition it gradually. And feel this leg, this knee, this hip joint. Where are they in relation to each other? Compare now to purposely do what I did, my recipe for ruining the knee. Bring, let's call it your left foot out to the side while holding the knee in. And feel, imagine if you were to get up from the position like that. Can you picture the gapping in the knee? Can you picture the medial meniscus potential for ripping, for tearing the MCL, medial collateral ligament? Can you picture that? Great. Now lift the leg, reposition it so it's not out to the side, and now get up or think of getting up. Is it different? Are you more athletic? Can you feel the difference? We sit, stand, how many times a day? We squat, how many times a day? We lunge, we do stairs. How do we position foot in relation to the knee, to the hip, to the center of mass? There is a huge potential there. That's another 20%. Learning, perfecting our sensory, our interpretive, and our motor functions. And I'm not saying it's easy. It takes training. Great. So one more thing that I would love to share with you today that will be practical. So befriending gravity. So I mentioned 3 pillars of progress: mindset, knowledge, and practice. You need the different awareness. You need to have knowledge, basic knowledge of what your anatomy is, what happens when the center of mass is here or there, when the base of support is here and there. Gaining knowledge that matters. And finally, you can have all the knowledge in the world. You can have the most positive outlook, the best mindset you can imagine. And without practice, it won't happen. That's why I put together this knee circuit. that I would love to teach you. These will be basic exercises, and this won't be Feldenkrais method. This won't be a journey toward deeper understanding of yourself. The reason why I wanted to make that bridge from where you are to the happy, pain-free person and highly functioning person, I wanted to do it how much I can do for free. Do it assessment, teach them something for free. I want to teach you these exercises that you could start to do on daily basis. And these are exercises that are based on science of what works in rehabilitation of the knee. Like I said before, not only local, not only quadriceps, not only hamstrings, but they are important. Quadriceps and hamstring, without training them, not good, not enough. But that's alone not enough. We need glutes, we need core, we need hips, we need gluteal muscles. So this is what we're going to do now. Please lie down on the floor. Or if you do these movements on the bed, you could also be successful on the bed.